You're live. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Welcome to our live stream.
We are here for you, the Overload 101 students, and we take this time once a month to chat with you, answer your questions, and make sure that we can do everything that we can to help you set up your stores for success. So if this is your first time joining us, feel free to start to type your questions in the chat to the right of this window. And also let us know who you are, where you're from. We have students all over the world, and it's super cool to hear where you guys are joining us from. Actually, we had a question in the chat before we even started, and that question was, is it best to launch your store just before Christmas? And this is something, we're always talking about Black Friday, which is this huge shopping day in the US and worldwide, really, after Thanksgiving, so in late November, and then the holidays. What do you think? Like, should dropshippers start their store now when everything is about to crescendo, or should they wait?
That is a great question, Jessica. I love eager beavers. That's the attitude you need to have if you want to have a successful business. I would say that question needs a little bit of digging because it kind of depends on how you're going to be marketing. From my research and from my knowledge of helping dropshippers, they would probably say that advertising during that time is probably going to be the most expensive. So while you have the most money to be made around the Christmas season, if you're just getting started, it might cost you more to start marketing and advertising. But I think as a basis, we should all remember that the best time to do anything was yesterday.
Yeah.
So if you didn't already get started, then it's perfect time to get started right now. It might cost you a little bit more, but at least you'll get your feet wet. You'll see what products people are interested in your store. You'll get kind of some feedback about maybe your product descriptions or how people are interacting with your advertisements. And you might get some sales too. So there's definitely no reason that you can't get started now. I would really take a second to sit down and think, why do I want to wait until next year? Mm-hmm. Really get down to the real reason of why you want to wait, because that always happens to me. And then once I start thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? I don't have a good reason to wait until the start of next year.
It's all just excuses that pop up.
Yeah.
And I would add on top of that too, there are different products that are going to sell really well during the holidays versus the new year, when people are still going to be shopping, but for very different things. So right now, people are buying lots of holiday decor, they're buying gifts, they're buying things of that nature. Come the new year, they're going to want to get on top of resolutions. So they're going to get fitness apparel. They're going to want things that help them clean and organize their home. So just as you're trying to decide what to sell, keep in mind that you can take advantage of pre-holiday and post-holiday shopping habits with the products you choose to sell.
Yeah, and if you're curious, just jump onto Google Trends. Google Trends is amazing, and we talk about it and use it in the course. But Google Trends is completely free, and just start typing in the niche you're in, the category you're selling in, maybe some of your product names, and then even if you're not sure yourself, you'll just be able to quickly see very clearly what is the best time to get started. So if you are like, I think I should wait because I'm in the fitness niche, then that's totally fair, but Google Trends will be able to help validate that a little bit more.
Yeah. Want to welcome people who are just joining us. Maybe you saw in the inbox that we are hosting this live session.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
We've got Martin from the south of France. Great to have you here.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Just so you know, if you're joining us, you can find this whole session will be recorded. So the same link that you used to get here, you can also use that to watch this afterwards. And if we don't get to your question in the chat box, we'll have Overload support staff ready to help you out. So yeah, you're good to go.
We got you.
Yeah. Hello from Superior, Colorado. Oh, I like that. Very, very, very proud of that home state. So we have this question from Chris. He says, in Overload 101, we have one audience, and then we go on to build a retargeting audience after we run our first set of ads there. And he wants us to talk a little bit about changing the audience in our Facebook ads or starting with a new audience. And that's true. We didn't test a whole lot of audiences. There's so many things to test in Facebook ads. When do you, as a dropshipper and someone who's worked with dropshippers, when do you tell people, okay, let's test a new audience?
That's a really great question. I would say that it's really, really difficult to know. If you're someone who's really passionate about dropshipping, like I am, then you probably watch a lot of YouTubers who are dropshippers as well, or just read about Facebook ads online. Some people, when they're testing a product, they set up over 25 to 50 different audiences.
Crazy.
It's crazy. But the thing is it seems like it's somewhat endless, and you can, keep testing audiences and pretty much never stop. But you can also test with just a few audiences. It really is up to you, and you kind of need to just get started and see what's working or what's not. Because if you're just getting started, there's no way that you're going to make 50 new audiences. That's okay. Nobody does when they're just getting started. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't find an audience. But you need to first look at your budget. See how much money you actually have to spend or that you've actually set aside for advertising or marketing, and figure out a plan of how long that's going to last you and how could you break that up between different audiences. If you don't have that much to get started with, then I would probably suggest doing a lot of audience research first, so that way you're not just kind of being too general or too broad, and you can have a little bit of a better idea of who your target market would be.
That is a great point, and I would also kind of add that when you're starting out, your guess as to who the audience is going to like your product is never going to be quite as accurate as Facebook's own data. But you have to spend money on those initial guesses just so that Facebook, your pixel, can get out there and learn on your behalf. So don't get too hung up on, testing all these different audiences based on your guesswork. Just start the ad set and start learning based on what the data tells you, and then you can let the pixel find the right audience, because Facebook wants you to succeed. The more you're getting sales with your ads, the more you'll give Facebook to keep running those ads. So they're looking for your audience too. That's the good thing about this Facebook advertising platform.
Yeah, and it's really, if you're really dedicated to getting into dropshipping and especially running advertisements through Facebook, I would definitely suggest starting to follow what Facebook is doing and what Facebook Business Manager is changing and how it's changing. Facebook wants advertisers to focus on creating high quality content. So I think one of the biggest trends from their announcements this coming year is that they want people to spend less time making 5,000 ad sets and more time making really, really valuable content. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I've seen and learned from Facebook, especially this year, is that the algorithm knows who your customer is way better than you do.
Yeah.
And they've really invested in that machine, so you really need to trust that. And instead, give them a chance to be, give your ads a chance to be more open, and spend more time reading the data and understanding who is and who isn't buying. I think one of the classic examples is, you might be targeting, you might be selling jewelry. You might think that, oh, obviously women are going to want to buy this jewelry more than men, which might be true, but it might not be. And then you might find from opening up your ads that actually it's a lot of men are purchasing it as gifts for women. So it's really, really open, and it can vary. So definitely leave it more open at first. And I think that especially in the course, we were surprised, for example, with what product was the most popular, and the data never ceases to surprise me. Personally.
We've got we're starting to get like a lot of people joining. Hello to
Welcome.
We've got folks from Georgia, California, Egypt, Berlin, Spain. Awesome. And as more questions get filter in, I'll try to like fire them off more quickly. Also, shout out to Domus for helping someone since they started Overload 101. We're so glad you find that helpful when we're able to reach out and give you some individual guidance there. Cool. One of the questions that I thought was interesting. So Jacqueline asked, she's doing product research and she wants to market products that are made for Apple. So think like a phone case for Apple, for example. I don't know if that's what Jacqueline's selling, but that's a good enough example. She wants to know, is she allowed to take pictures of an actual iPhone, or does it have to be a generic phone with the product? Correct me if I'm wrong, there's no problem taking the picture of the iPhone, because you're not selling the iPhone. You're just making it clear you're selling the case and it's meant for iPhones. You should have no problem there. You maybe wouldn't want to use like the Apple logo. Like, it's fine if it appears on the phone, but you don't want to put it, like superimpose it, like made for Apple at the end of your ad that might be flirting with danger a little bit.
Yeah, and I would probably just be careful that the case itself or whatever accessory you're selling for the phone doesn't have the Apple logo on it. As long as it doesn't have the logo on it, you should be good to go in terms of just selling a case for the phone itself.
Yeah.
Because it's just an accessory for it.
Lots coming in. Let's see.
Awesome.
Here's an interesting one. So Eric says, would you have somebody build your store for you to save time and make it look more professional? There's tons of people out there offering to do that. My opinion on the matter is that if this is your first store, just build it from scratch. You learn so much about what goes into each of those elements that if you decide after a month of running the store you want professional help, you'll get much more of your money's worth because you'll have done the research and you'll know, okay, my weak spot is store navigation. I know what store navigation means. And when this person who you're paying says, I can build you 12 product pages, you'll kind of know what to ask. Okay, well, what do you put on the product pages? So I would say build your first store yourself. I love building stores, so I don't want to outsource that. I maybe like it too much. I spend too much time doing that. But then if you decide to work with someone and pay someone, you'll use that money more effectively.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. I would definitely suggest building a store yourself. I'm someone who loves to spend hours and hours endlessly designing my stores, making them look gorgeous. And here's the thing. Just because your store looks pretty doesn't mean you're going to make any sales. Those two things, unfortunately, they don't just equate to each other.
You would be so amazed. When we look at the top grossing dropshipping stores, you're like, what? I mean, these stores are conversion machines, but they don't have to look gorgeous.
You would be shocked at the number of $1 million stores that use the free debut theme from Shopify.
Yeah.
And I think that from working at Overlow and just dropshipping, it's really, really changed my perspective about that. Of course, you do want things to look professional, but dropshipping also has its own particular characteristics that you need to remember. I used to spend hours, for example, on the storefront, my online storefront. Well, it turns out that when you're running Facebook ads, you're pretty much sending your customer directly to the product page, and you don't even want them to click on your storefront. Yeah. You just want them to add to cart and go to the checkout. So now that I've run a few more dropshipping stores, it's become a lot clearer that, let's say, spending a lot of time on the storefront isn't necessarily a priority for my online store. So if I was going to hire someone to make a store for me, because I had built one before, I would know more about what to focus on or what to ask them to focus on. So I would completely agree with Jessica. Definitely build the first store yourself. You are going to learn so much in the process.
We've got two interesting questions, and we've got people from Turkey, from Singapore. Wow. Incredible. Really cool. I mean, I don't know what time it is in Singapore, but it's got to be kind of late.
Yeah. Amazing. I love this dedication.
Right. So we've got GN, and sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, says when they're looking for possible influencers on Instagram to work with, should they start with people with just 300 followers? And, we don't talk about Instagram influencers in depth in Overlow 101, and that's not because it's a good way to get sales. We just kind of wanted to make the course as compact and actionable as possible. But I would say 300 is too low. And one of the reasons is once someone on Instagram has 10,000 followers, they're able to link within their stories, and so that people can go to the stories and swipe up and go to, hopefully, your product page if you're working with this influencer. But if someone has less than that, it's going to take extra steps for someone to find your link from that influencer's page. So 10K is the minimum you would want to look for, right?
I completely agree. I guess technically it could be done with less, but it's going to take a lot of extra steps, and you already have a lot of steps to go through when you're building this business. So if there's any way that you can kind of take the easier path, then we would definitely suggest it. So having the influencer being able to actually link directly to the product is going to make it so much easier. So I would definitely suggest getting started there, especially because there's an absolute sea of influencers who have a minimum of 10,000 followers. So it's not like you're going to be having a difficult time finding them. So I would definitely suggest that.
So many good questions. One of them is personal, though. I think, we don't talk, you and I, we give all this advice. We don't talk a lot about our own dropshipping stores. But someone is asking how many stores we have launched and run. Do we do one store at a time? And when do we decide to close a store? Do you have any kind of personal stories on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I have had probably now 6, 7 dropshipping stores. The first 3, when I was just getting started, were totally hilarious mistakes. I feel like I made so many mistakes and I learned so much about product research. First store, I was selling products that I was like, I just like these are awesome. Turns out, just because I like something doesn't mean other people will like it, so that store was a flop. Then there was another store where I was selling some cosmetics, some face masks. That store I really thought was going to be a winner. Well, it turns out that unfortunately you cannot advertise products on Facebook that alter somebody's health. So I was writing that my face masks were going to brighten your skin, and then Facebook banned me. So I have had a few stores, and that hasn't been the first time that I've been banned on Facebook. So if anyone out there in the comments has been banned on Facebook, I know how you feel. It is really frustrating, but don't worry. Just keep powering on. Just take the day, and then just make a new Facebook account.
When you're running these stores, do you run them one at a time, or have you run them one after each other?
I run them personally one at a time, but that's just because I work a full-time job. But that doesn't mean that you have to run them one at a time. You can definitely run multiple. And I know a lot of dropshippers that I follow on YouTube who I really look up to. They run multiple at the same time, so it's totally doable.
I do one at a time too. I've had 3 dropshipping stores at this point, and I've tried niche and I've tried one product. Usually when I've decided to close, it's just because as I'm investing money in ads, I'm not seeing traction. And that was especially true with one product. Some of you guys have asked about the viability of a one product storefront. For me, the tough thing was I didn't do like a deals site, which I think is one of the keys of getting sales. If at least it was 2 years ago. I don't know how effective that is still now, but I chose a product. I chose reusable straws, like one that you could fit on your keychain, and I made a whole site about it, and it looked great. But I hadn't tested that. Like I hadn't spent a dime testing reusable straws on Facebook ads before spending all this time building a whole single product site. So then when it didn't gain traction, I was like, well, here I am. I can't really maneuver to a different product. I branded this, like the domain had straws in the name. So I decided to stop that because I didn't build flexibility into my store. And that's one of the reasons that I suggest niche stores, because that way you don't have to close your entire store when a certain product doesn't take off. You can just find other products in that niche and keep testing for that winner.
And before I started working at Overload, when I was just a passionate dropshipper. I remember I would always have stores, and I would, be watching my favorite YouTubers or reading about dropshipping, and I'd be like, oh, I need to do a general store. That's the way. Yeah. That's the way to success. So I'd be like, well, I'm ditching this store. See ya. On to the next one. And then after trying all 3 of them and having more experience, and then once I got started at Overload, I realized that the way to success with the store is just to stick to it and just address the problems that come up, because they're going to come up no matter what. Yeah. So anyone out there who is like me, who's chasing, niche or general, neither one of them is a golden ticket. They both work, but they both have their own problems too.
Yeah. Also, if you're joining us, we're about 15 minutes in. Usually these videos are like half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on the conversation that we've got going. If we don't get to your question, you can always reach out to hello@overload.com to get a response to your question. We'll try to address questions in the chat, but we may not get to it. And you can access this video and watch the whole thing by clicking the same link you used to get here. So after this video is done, it'll live on this same website. A question from Tiago, which is really worth mentioning. If a customer buys multiple products on a dropshipping website, and it's likely that those products all come from different suppliers, that customer will get those products at different times. And I think Tiago's kind of getting at, like, is that going to bother the customer? Or should the dropshipper warn the customer about that?
That's a great question. I think that this is one of those questions that doesn't really have the easiest answer, but it's also not really that big of a deal. Yes, if you have different suppliers, unfortunately the packages will come from different places and might arrive at different times. There's just no way for them to meet up in the air and, let's say, combine and come together. That is definitely a small downside if someone is ordering multiple packages. I would definitely suggest warning the customer just so they're not worried that one of the packages was missing something, for example. But otherwise, if you forewarn your customer, don't stress about it. It's really like this is something I think that stops a lot of people. But last year, I was ordering some bike parts from Amazon. I put them all in the same checkout. I ordered them all. And guess what? They came in different packages because some of them were coming from China and some of them were coming from the States and these other places, and they weren't all in the same fulfillment facility. And, when I got it, it wasn't really that big of a deal. I was like, okay, I mean, I guess it happens. It wasn't ideal, but it totally didn't stop me from shopping or, kind of continuing. So I would definitely warn your customer and make sure that when you're setting up your dropshipping store, you check out our help documents because you can set up automatic tracking for e-packet shipping and that the tracking number is sent to your customer. So that way, if you forewarn them and let them know it's going to come separately, they can at least track the other package to know where it is so they're not worried about it and, they can kind of stay on top of it. But it's totally a solvable problem.
Yeah. We had a good question. A couple of people have said Facebook is difficult. They've gotten banned. What should they do? Or
I feel you guys.
What should they do? Yeah, I think you had mentioned before, like patience, working with Facebook, being knowledgeable about the rules is important. But I also think this is a good time to talk about, while you're waiting to hear back from Facebook, what can you be doing to get sales? And some of my favorite ways, my very first sale that I got was I reached out to Instagram influencers. I just DM'd them and I said, I just started a new store. I'd love your feedback. I wasn't even trying to make a sale.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them got back to me and they said, oh, I like this pair of leggings. I don't like that. And then I said, thanks, here's a 20% discount code. And one of the influencers went ahead and bought leggings right there. I was really grateful for the discount code. So don't neglect these ways to get little sales and start seasoning that pixel, even when Facebook is being difficult.
Absolutely. I definitely got my first sale once through Reddit. I just made used my account and I just posted on Reddit and I was like, wow, I found this product that works really well for me in a subreddit that was related to it. And people were like, where did you buy it? And then I just linked my own store. And people started buying from my store. So it's totally doable. I would just want to mention that when you're getting started with dropshipping, I know that you're a dreamer. We're dreamers.
Yeah, we're dreamers.
That's why we're all here together talking about dropshipping. But it's really easy to lose focus of sale by sale and just focus on these millions of dollars. And you're like, well, I'm not going to make millions by posting from a 1 or 2 sales on Reddit. I got it. But that is a really good way to get started, to get some sales coming in, get some more information about customers or what people like or what people don't like, and you will slowly build your way up. Unfortunately, it's not just going to break through like that.
Yeah.
And I will say for anyone that is waiting on Facebook, this is going to be some real talk here. Facebook is really tough to deal with. I'm sure if any of you have Facebook problems out there, you know that their customer support pretty much just doesn't exist. It's tough. However, don't just sit around waiting for them. Just make a new account. You will need to verify your account again. I understand that your main account will have your friends, family, and your community on there, but just go ahead and make a new account. That's what I did, and you will need to send in a picture to verify that it's you, of course, but you can make a new one, and then you just set up a new Facebook Business Manager. I know it's tedious, but that's kind of just the reality of the situation, and we want you to succeed, so we would just want to be real with you about ways to get that solved.
Yeah. We've got some really cool questions coming in, and thanks for introducing yourselves when you guys hop on the chat. Jorge asks, he says, I found some products that no supplier ships by e-packet. Should I just forget about the product, or is AliExpress standard shipping okay? The best thing you can do is always just test, right? Go ahead and order the product for yourself, see how long it takes for the product to get there. There have been situations where AliExpress standard shipping works totally fine. ePacket is more secure, so there is a risk that you run. But if you start getting sales on a product, AliExpress suppliers notice, especially if you get a lot of sales, chances are that product will become available from a supplier who has ePacket shipping. So would you respond differently?
No, I completely agree with you, Jessica. AliExpress suppliers, they're not manufacturers, they're suppliers. So they're supplying products and they want to supply products that are going to sell. So if there's a product that is doing well, you can usually reach out to suppliers and ask them to bring it into stock, and a lot of them will work with you on that. I would definitely suggest doing your best to find products with e-package shipping. If you have used AliExpress before and ordered products, you'll notice that the AliExpress tracking is within the actual AliExpress page. So that can be a little bit frustrating if you have customers asking about where their package is, whereas e-package shipping provides a tracking code that the customer can check themselves on a separate page. So it's totally doable, but I would just say that definitely try to find e-packet first. There's millions of products on AliExpress. There's absolutely no shortage of products. So if you're seeing some resistance to a product, maybe put it on pause. Reach out to the supplier, a few suppliers, see if they can get it in stock. Otherwise, keep it moving.
Yeah.
Get some other products. There's tons of winning products on AliExpress, and just keep going. And then hopefully, if a supplier can stock it, or maybe one of them eventually gets e-packet for it, then you can try and sell it.
Let's talk money.
Okay.
We've had, so Gian and then Louis both brought up how much they've spent on Facebook ads without seeing any sales. Gian spent $300, Louis spent $100, says he spent $100 on Facebook, no sales, wasting his time. I can't stress enough that if you got a sale after spending $100, you're doing really well, especially if this is your first store and you get a sale after spending $100 on Facebook ads. You're a freak of nature. Because what you're doing with those ads, you're paying for data for your first few hundred dollars. And I'm sorry to say it that it costs so much. Facebook knows that it is a powerful platform and it's going to charge you to access the customers on it. But to make that relationship work, you need to pay Facebook to get out there and hunt and sniff around for the people who are likely customers. Once that's in place, you will start to get sales. But this right here, giving up after $100, saying you're wasting your time. I mean, that you're in good company. So many people decide to give up at that point, but the people that we interviewed don't. Harry Beast of Ecom spent 800 pounds.
800 pounds.
And then he was psyched after that first sale because he knew it worked. It validated it for him. And now he's a multi-million-dollar dropshipper. So this doesn't happen for everyone because most people give up. So we're not saying you need to bleed money to make dropshipping work. Set a smart budget that works for you. And if you can only do $100 a month, that's okay. You can still build your business gradually. But remember, if you're starting a venture, you have to spend either time or money to get it off the ground. And if you decide I only have $100 a month, no problem. Don't expect to get a sale in your first week. It's going to take longer. If you decide, okay, I'm going to go all in, $1,000 in a month, you'll probably get that first sale quicker, but you'll still have to learn and get that data.
Absolutely. And I have seen this so many times. People are like, well, I spent X amount and I didn't get anything, so this doesn't work. You really have to break it down and see, what are you doing while that money is being spent? While those few $100s were being spent in Facebook ads, were you in Facebook every day seeing which part of your audience was responding the best? Was it your ad copy that wasn't working? How far were customers coming along the funnel? Were they clicking and then maybe at the product page they were like, no, they were not purchasing anymore? I feel like the problem with Facebook ads for a lot of people is they think that once they set up the ad, that's it. They're just going to leave the money, attach their credit card, and the sales will just start rolling in. That is not how it works. You need to constantly be monitoring your Facebook ads and seeing if you need to adjust things. Do you need to duplicate the ad? Maybe, one of them is working well, but one of them isn't. So that one needs to go, and you need to make a new one and test something else. It's a constant learning process, and I think that the biggest difference I've seen, especially with the hundreds of dropshippers that we've worked with and that we've helped and we've seen grow their businesses, is the successful dropshippers are the ones that realize that every dollar spent was a dollar that went into their education of Facebook ads and their knowledge of how it works. And that's why when you see YouTubers who post how to make, let's say, making $50,000 in 24 hours, that's because they've spent so much money and time learning about Facebook ads and like getting the nitty-gritty of it all that now, yes, they can make that amount in such a short time frame. And it can be a little misleading if you're new because you're like, well, I can't do that.
Right.
Well, it's because it took them hours and lots of money and lots of fidgeting and endless nights to learn that. So really remember that if you're just expecting to throw $100 into Facebook and see sales, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And we want you to succeed, so we want to be real with you about how to actually make it happen.
We've gotten some pretty cool comments about people talking about getting their first sales, which is really
Awesome.
fun to see. Congrats, guys. Get
Great
that
job.
first sale in, means you're officially entrepreneurs. And someone asked about, if there's a product that they're drop shipping, but this product is also available for a lower price on Amazon or eBay, will they be able to sell it? And I want to answer that, but I also want to tease because Magda is making her YouTube appearance in a couple weeks in a new video where we're going to tell you all about how people shop on Amazon versus how they shop on dropshipping sites. Because it's totally different, and when you understand the difference, you'll understand how you win against Amazon as a dropshipper.
And how those two things can coexist.
Yeah.
It's a really, really big market, guys. There's a lot of people in the world, and they're buying a lot of things. It's totally doable. And, even if you maybe are having a hard time understanding, look out for our video. That's going to really break it down. And then just think about the people that are succeeding with dropshipping. There's something that is working, and you can do it too. So, just stay positive and look out for our video.
Tony, so speaking of videos, tomorrow we've got a new video coming out, and it'll be the top 20 dropshipping niches to start dropshipping in 2020. But Tony is asking us what niche we recommend for a first dropshipping store in 2020. You guys took the course. I think we should give a little preview. What is your, either from the list or maybe from your, a niche that didn't make it to the list? Do you have a niche that you think new dropshippers should really explore for 2020?
Absolutely. I think one niche that dropshippers should explore is a niche that is a little bit lower on the pet niche. So a very specific niche within pets. I think that the pet market is exploding. It's continuing to grow. People are going to continue to spend tons of money on their pets. Actually, they're spending more and more money. But I think that one of the mistakes I see a lot of new dropshippers make is they're like, okay, pets is a niche. Pets is not a niche. Pets is huge.
Category.
It's an entire category of products. Really narrow it down into maybe a breed of dog or a type of cat. Just really, really narrow it down. Or, for example, things for fish tanks. Reptiles. If you really narrow it down into one, it can really, really be successful for you. And then you can test a lot of products because these niches are always growing. So that means there's always new products coming out for them. AliExpress suppliers are going to be finding those products, and people are going to be buying those products for their pets. So I would definitely suggest that.
Yeah, cats and dogs get all the love, but people, have you ever met someone who owns a parrot? They're freaking crazy, and they'll buy.
Obsessed.
Yeah, and same with, like you mentioned, aquariums. There's a lot of room to run there. So if you're someone who's ever had one of those weird, sorry, no judgment, I had all these kind of alternative pets. They're rabid fans, and very few people are selling to them, so lots of opportunity.
Yeah.
The niche that I'm really excited about is sleep. I'm really bullish about sleep. I feel like we've already seen big brands that are selling custom mattresses and pillows start to make it big. There's a lot more conversation about this topic in podcasts and in books. And I like this because, I just mentioned that big brands like Casper, for example, are bringing the issue of sleep and making it popular. But you're not competing with Casper because you're not selling mattresses. Instead, you can really look for cool products on AliExpress that complement an interest in sleep and teach people or help people, get a good night's sleep through, I don't know, good eye masks or white noise machines. This is really an area to be creative. So that's the area that I think is kind of fun to explore in 2020.
Yeah, I completely agree. Also, I don't know if this is rude to say, but I feel like if you're probably sleep deprived, you're probably pretty desperate to find a solution. So you might be a little more willing to try something just because it might help you get to sleep.
Yeah, definitely. Shirley asks, return policy. Can I make my own rules, or is there a mandatory return policy that I have to use? You can technically make your own rules, but actually we write out a return policy for you in Overload 101, and that return policy is basically if customers aren't happy, just give them a refund and let them keep the product and either recycle it, donate it, whatever they need. And the reason we do that is your life is going to get complex enough managing all the different parts of a new business. If a customer is unhappy, and this will happen, it happens in every business, rather than like deal with them sending something and do you pay for postage and how do you track it, just chalk it up as a loss. It's probably going to be a loss below $25 or so. And they'll probably be grateful that you even refunded them and didn't argue with them about it. The only thing that I would say is if they say the product is defective, ask them for a photo, because then you can give them a refund, but with that photo, you can also go to your supplier and get a refund from there. So in that case, you really don't lose any money. Do you have anything you would add to that?
Absolutely, Jessica.
Yeah.
Good return policies make sales. You should definitely have a really, really great return policy. And I would put yourself into the position of a customer. I just moved, so I recently purchased a Casper mattress. This is my second Casper mattress.
So my sleep is going to blow up.
Yeah, sleep is definitely going to blow up. And the reason that I purchased it initially, it's quite an expensive mattress. It was a big investment for me. But the reason I purchased it was because they have an amazing policy of like 100 sleeps for free, and like they will come pick it up if you don't like it. It gave me that trust. I was like, oh, okay, if I don't like it, no problem. They'll come pick it up. Well, guess what? It's just fine. The mattress works great. It's a mattress. And I've seen that this actually works for me when I'm shopping on online stores. And when I'm shopping, if someone says, free 30-day return policy, I'm like, oh, okay, let me just buy it, because if I want to return it, okay, it's going to be so easy. And guess what? I mostly don't return anything. And it always, always, always works on me. So I really would suggest looking into having a better return policy, because it's going to make your customers all feel a little more trustworthy and all feel like you're kind of holding their hand, and they'll be much more inclined to purchase because they feel like should something happen, they can return it. And some things will happen, but it's a really small percentage. So I would definitely suggest having a great return policy and being really public about it.
Yeah. You guys I know we're a little over our half an hour. We'll probably maybe take questions for another 5 minutes. So if there's something that you really want to know, drop it in the chat. And of course, you can always reach out to hello@overload.com to get answers to your questions. And you can watch this video with the same link.
Yeah.
Also, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you might want to check it out. There's a lot of cool videos there that kind of talk about things we may not touch on in the course, like Instagram marketing, like ways to get traffic for free and things like that.
We also post product lists that you can start importing and selling right away.
Oh yeah, tons of product ideas.
Yes.
Shelly says, my store is a women's dress store. Cool. Is there a good guideline for pricing clothing? We give this guideline of whatever you're pricing, take the cost of the product on AliExpress plus the cost of shipping, multiply it by 3, and that's typically a good to sell something for. Do you think that should change for clothing?
I think that you should get started with that as a basis always, and then work from there. I think clothing is a really, really tough one. As someone who's into designer clothing, there's really no difference sometimes between something that's $600 and $30, except your perceived perception. You look at something that's super expensive and you're like, oh, well, there must be a reason. why would they sell it at this crazy price? Sometimes there isn't a reason. But as a customer, you're like, oh, that is worth so much more. So I would definitely suggest looking at your brand. Who are you selling to? Are you selling, like, what kind of dresses is your customer normally buying? And check out the prices of those dresses. Because if it's someone who's maybe, if it's a group of people that are interested in more budget dresses, then you probably want to stick around that level. But if it's, maybe a group of people that are interested in more designer clothes or something like that, more stylish, they might be willing to pay more. And don't forget that it's important to test pricing too. We have heard it so many times from dropshippers that they've actually increased the price of their products and sold more because it's a perceived value that your customer sees. So I would say that this, in line with a lot of other questions of, should it be this or this? Well, we can't tell you because only the data can tell you. Yeah. So you've got to kind of test a little bit and go from there.
Shelly is like, times 3 seems too high, but I think to the point that Magda just made, get after those dollars. And if it hurts your sales, if you add $10 to that price point and you don't get sales, and then you subtract $10 to the original price point, you get more sales, that tells you, okay, maybe times 3 is too high. But a lot of dropshippers leave money on the table because they think they're competing with other brands when you're not. You're going after impulse buys, and those impulse buys aren't as price sensitive. The one thing I would add, though, if you're selling dresses and you price it high, remember that your customers are going to think a little bit more about the product, and they're going to want to know about fit. So really make sure you buy those test products, take a tape measure, make sure that the countries you're selling to, you've adjusted the sizes. So if you're selling to Europe, you should have an EU size chart. That can get a little complicated, but it's all doable. Dropshippers do it all the time.
Absolutely.
Stacy asks, Jessica, was Green Kitchen Goods an actual store, and did you make any sales on it? Yes, it was an actual store, and yes, we did make sales. We got actually more sales after we finished filming the course. The sales kept rolling in, and we still get likes and interactions on the ads today, which is really cool. We don't currently, I shut off, or I said like all products are sold out because we wanted to kind of freeze the store so that as people take the course and they go to look at the store, things don't look completely different. So we haven't done anything to optimize the store, continue growing it, which is a little bit of a shame because we did season the Facebook pixel, but maybe we'll think of a way to keep the store going for the next course.
Yeah, it's crazy. The sales really start to pick up after we froze it because, as we mentioned before, our Facebook pixel finally figured out who would be the best customers for Green Kitchen Goods. And then things started to roll in, even when we weren't doing anything. We would just be like, oh, shoot, we got a new sale. We didn't even notice because Facebook was finally got its wheels rolling.
Kenneth says, do you plan on doing any other training videos like an Overload 102 or something? The answer is absolutely yes, and we're really looking for opinions from you about what the next courses should be. Should we do an Instagram course? Should we do another Facebook ads course? So please drop your opinions in the chat, leave a comment. Literally anywhere you leave this opinion, we're hungry for it, because a big part of what we want to do next year is be better at teaching you guys to do the tough parts of dropshipping so you can stick with it, so you save money on headache meds, so that you become entrepreneurs who are successful in building businesses. And then another question that we've got is really cool. I'm looking to sell women's beauty products, and I've noticed that some dropshippers are selling the same product for cheaper than me. Should I carry on or change the product? Carry on.
Carry on.
Be the premium version. And remember that your customers are really not going to, they're not likely to find that same product in another dropshipping store. So it's okay. Be the higher priced product. Get more money per sale than your competition.
I actually was just shopping yesterday evening, and I saw 2 products that were exactly the same. And one of them was like €3 and the other one was 15. And I'm being completely honest, and you guys please be honest with me, because I was like, something is suspicious about this €3 product. Why is it so cheap? I was like, there must be something wrong with it. I bet it's gonna show up broken, or it's gonna show up like something is not gonna be working properly. And I ended up purchasing the one that was €15 because I was like, I'm way too suspicious. And I just that fear actually got me to purchase the €15 product. So I would definitely agree with Jessica and just stick to it, and maybe take your own product photos or something like that. But really, you can absolutely sell it for that price and get away with it and make money.
Absolutely. We're getting really good feedback on what our future courses should be. And also, for those of you, as you're taking the course, if you think something is incorrect or out of date, contact us. Email us at hello@overload.com, because we will work hard to fix it right away. But the one ask we have is, let us know specifically. Like, if you just say the Facebook course is out of date, well, we know not all of it is out of date, but maybe there has been a rule change and we didn't catch it and incorporate it into the course. We've got contacts at Facebook. We can understand this quickly, but just help us know what exactly needs fixing, and we'll make sure to do that right away.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think that is a wrap. Thank you all for joining us. This has been a pleasure. And we'll see you next month, and good luck building those stores.
Yeah, that was so much fun, guys. And don't give up. You can do it. Just keep the grind going.
Yeah, tell us about your first and future sales the next time we see each other.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.